Hey everybody, Chuck Barone, Wednesday, September 22nd, September 21st, 2022. I'm going to get these dates right one of these days, guys. Anyway, a huge day today, big Fed announcement, big Fed stuff to talk about. Like always, I just want to thank everybody, as always, for their support for the channel, watching the videos, likes and questions and comments, and all the stuff you guys do to make the channel a success. We love you guys for it. Markets today, big day today. Fed comes out. Everybody in the whole wide world, I think, was expecting this 3/4 point increase. They did. And the market reacted like a scalded cat. It was like, I don't know if it was the comments that St. Jerome made after the announcement. I haven't had a chance to go through the whole transcript of that yet. But some of the stuff he did say was not great news for the stock market, not great news for the pivot people who think that any second now the Fed's going to start cutting rates again, and this is all a big bluff. They look serious. Will they actually do what they say? Well, we'll have to see about that. But the market was kind of staying flat, was up pretty much most of the day. And then when the announcement came out and St. Jerome had his little press conference there, market tanked down across the board, down almost 2% across the board today. Just a bleak day for the market, everything looking pretty ugly. The bond market was really interesting, of course, because the bond market comes up mixed, where you have the yield on the 10-year actually falling today to 3.51, so about 5 or 6 basis points. But at the same time, the 2-year shooting up to 405, up about 10 basis points. So now we're looking at 54 basis point difference on this inverted yield curve here. It's getting to look a little bit ridiculous, guys. 405 on a 2-year. Now this is the 10-year is the one everybody looks at. That's why it's the most obviously manipulated. This 2-year, though, is pointing the way where things are going to go here. This yield curve is going to get normal sooner or later. 10-year's got a ways to go to the upside. Bond market not liking it. No one liking it. Crazy times, crazy stuff. And what's interesting to me is the hysteria. I mean, we all knew this was coming. Everybody in the whole wide. The only question was, would they add the extra quarter on and raise it a whole 1 full percentage point instead of the 3/4? I mean, everybody expected 3/4. It was pretty much priced into the market, and they reacted like it's the first time they ever heard about it. Just comical to watch it. At the same time, with St. Jerome's comments, because they were pretty hard, we predicted that as well. They were going to hammer the fact that they're going to stick with it till the job is done. They talked about, and we will go into more of that later, but on the comments, St. Jerome's comments, the dollar blasts off over 111 on the index now. This is getting to a point where the Fed might actually have to do something about the strength of the dollar, because it's just hurting all our friends around the world. And there's just no other currency even close, and obviously the dollar's gaining still on all of them. The metals market, in spite of this dollar today, actually had a very small up day, with gold sitting at $16.74, silver at $19.63 an ounce. That the metals are holding in there, even though they've been down a little bit, obviously. But the fact that they're hanging in there at all with this dollar doing what it's doing, pretty astounding strength in metals, guys. I think silver really wants to blast off. I think if there's an opportunity when this dollar comes down to 108, 107, you're going to see silver on a little bit of a rocket ride. In the oil market today, oil down, $83 flat per barrel, West Texas Intermediate. Natural gas up fractionally, $7.77. That market's been gyrating all over the place like we've talked about. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of conflicting data as far as demand goes and all kind of stuff. So oil, it's kind of been in a trough between 80 and 85, bouncing around in there until it breaks out. It's just kind of another ho-hum day in the oil market. Bitcoin today down, breaking under the 19,000. I think Bitcoin's got a test coming here because the support line's at 18.5, at least the way I saw it. And underneath that, there's just not much for Bitcoin. So if it breaks below 18.5, it could really hit the crapper pretty hard. Now, some people have said, I have to get back to that chart. Some people have said the next support comes down at 12,000. That would be a pretty big decline from 18.9 or just about 19,000 here. I don't really see that, but if that's what the chart says, we'll see. But Bitcoin looking a little bit shaky right now. I'd like to see a little bit of for our long Bitcoin people, a little bit of a rally, and it has to keep above that 18.5 support, or it looks like it's bombs away. Anyway, getting to the news of the day. Federal Reserve today. We knew this open market committee meeting was today. We knew pretty much exactly what was going to happen. We predicted pretty much all of it. We said the Fed was going to probably stick to their 3/4 point increase. We talked about the outside remote chance they might go higher. I didn't really think they would because this is kind of baked into the cake now. They came out with their 3/4 as expected. In the few comments I've seen that Powell made, very interesting stuff talking about. He was talking about the new terminal rate. Now, the terminal rate is the number that the Federal Reserve believes will be the peak for the overnight rate. And they were talking 4.6 by the end of the year. Well, that's a little bit higher than they've been talking about. What that kind of implies is another 3/4 point increase coming likely in November, and then a 0.5 point increase coming in December. I kind of got the months mixed up in an earlier video, but it's November and December in the FOMAC meetings. Adding another 1.25 on, which would bring it to 4.35% roughly. Near their terminal rate, and then if they add another 1/4 on, now they're at their 4.6. We'll see. I think that kind of really is what spooked the market the most, though, because believe it or not, this market really just isn't taking this inflation and what's going to be needed to do to tame this inflation very seriously. They've been talking about pivoting. When can the Fed pivot? And Powell's remarks today, I think, poured some water on that because he's talked about a higher rate than they were anticipating. He talked about keeping rates longer, talking about keeping rates elevated all the way through next year, which would not surprise me in the least, considering the history we've reviewed ad nauseum on this show. The last time we had inflation numbers like this, it took them a decade to bring it back and to make it go away. So that if they could actually pull that off in 2 years, pretty astounding feat. And they've learned some lessons from the experience in the 70s. And I think if they got the stones, we'll see. I don't know if they got the balls to do it. Honest, I don't. Because there's going to be a pretty severe recession with all of this. And there's going to be a ton of screaming and yelling going on about the Fed causing this recession. Not that they're trying to fix another illness. This is like, all those drug commercials you see on TV and they got 560 side effects? Well, that's what this is. You're going to have to get rid of the disease of inflation, the side effect is going to be not a good one. It's going to be an ugly recession. And or you can look at it like the Fed's going to raise rates to cause that recession, and the side effect's going to be way less demand and way less pressure on prices, right? So St. Jerome today coming out sounding very hawkish. The Federal Reserve, the market committee, was unanimous in the comments and everything that they put out today. Now, tomorrow is going to be an interesting day because the Fed's going to release a tremendous amount of data later today or probably have already. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet. And this is going to be probably what the show's about tomorrow, because this is going to give us forward guidance going all the way to 2025. So we'll see really what does the Fed think about where rates are going in 2024, which they haven't talked about much. Do they think they're going to have to keep, how long do they think they'll have to keep rates elevated to get to this inflation and make it go away? How high are they going to actually have to raise rates to make this inflation go away? You know, if you look at it, you know, it's pretty simple math, guys, okay? The rate of inflation, the interest rate has to equal the rate of inflation. Simple. That's how you, actually higher than the rate of inflation is even better, right? So we had 10% inflation in 1982 or 81 or so. Volcker raised rates to 18%. And kaboom, that was that for inflation. Now, don't get me wrong, that was that for the job market. We had 10% unemployment. That was that for the economy. We had a pretty ugly midterm, and they were worried about Ronald Reagan even being reelected the way the economy was going. And of course, as we know, he ended up in 1984 winning 49 states in his reelection. So they got that. They were willing to take the pain to do the right thing. Now we're going to have to see if this current generation has the same guts to take the pain, to inflict the pain, to do the right thing for the economy. It's going to be interesting to watch it, guys. I don't know. I think that the language Powell is using makes me believe he really wants to do it. But political pressure being what it is, in the political times we're in right now, the market really just freaking out on these minuscule interest rates. You're talking about, a 4-year rate or a 4% rate in a 2-year. That's not like astoundingly high. It's just these rates aren't. And if you look at the money you're earning, and I remember when you could get 10% on a money market account. I can remember when you could get as high as 14% on a money market account. What are they giving you today? Maybe, if you find a really great one, you're getting close to 2%. So the market freaking out about these minuscule increases makes me worry that as we get closer, when they get up to 4.5% on the overnight rate, that's going to make this whole yield curve look a lot different, a lot higher, obviously. Let's see how the economy handles that. I don't know. According to what I've been reading, this was interesting. Credit card debt, we've been talking about that a lot on the show too, is still going up like crazy. They just did a survey, and they now say that 60% of credit card debtors, people who have credit card debt, have been in debt on that credit card for more than a year. That's up from 49% last year. So more people getting in credit card debt, people staying in credit card debt longer, adding more debt onto existing debt, balances going up. We've talked about those numbers, astounding numbers, over $60 billion in the last 2 months, crazy numbers. And now with interest rates on credit cards going up, of course, everything going up, now you got the payment going up with it as well, which gives them less spending power and kind of creates this vicious cycle where they have to borrow to do the things they need to do, buy food, gasoline, and they have to pay back that borrowing, but they can't pay back at all, so the balances get higher, the payments get higher, and it's just starting a vicious cycle. And the bad news for this economy, guys, is that we talked about it before. I made a joke that when you hear them talk about a soft landing, picture that famous picture of the Hindenburg blowing up, because that's usually what these soft landings look like. And basically, with the comments they made today and the way things are looking, this soft landing scenario, you don't even hear them talking about it anymore because it's just out of the question. They know they have to inflict pain, and it's what they're going to do to get this inflation under control. So crazy stuff going on in these markets. Tough times for the middle class. Tough times for, just my schmuckatellis, the guys like me, working guys. Hunker down, man. If you're taking the advice we've been given, you're doing okay. Stay on the path, man. Here's another interesting thing. U.S. home sales report came out today. Down again, crashing down for the 7th month in a row. These are levels that haven't been seen in sales levels since 2015. Prices are still kind of hanging in there as far as on the high side, but they're starting to come down as well, and they're going to come down. You know how it does. It starts slow and finishes fast, right? And St. Jerome, this is one of the things he said today, is that housing will have to have a correction. Fed speak for nuclear explosion? I don't know. But we know that house prices, we've been talking about that on the show a lot too. Prices are coming down pretty dramatically. It's accelerating. And in Fed speak, correction means maybe my 350 median price in Vegas is going to happen. Also, what I thought was an interesting way, and this will close the show on this today. I was reading a Wells Fargo analyst, and he said, the Fed has been projecting where they want rates to go, where they want rates to be. And he said, why don't they just go ahead then and raise 150 basis points and tear the Band-Aid off it, right? I mean, they've been telling everybody they want to get us at 4.5. Why pussyfoot around, man? Why not just do it in one shot and be done with it? Now, I don't know. I thought that was pretty amusing and a clever idea. I don't know how well the markets would react to that, but we kind of know where we're going with these rates, guys. And that's just a humorous way of looking at it, but we know overnight rates going to be around 4.5%, which is going to you're going to be looking at 6.5% mortgages. You're going to be looking at, probably getting 4% on your money market or savings accounts. You're going to get, a 2-year probably at 5%-ish, somewhere in there. So these rates are going to be more what I would term, like when I got into finance, normal rates. A normal mortgage rate is probably somewhere between 6 and 7%. So the rates right now are just returning to normal. They're not excessively high, guys. They're just not, okay? What's high is the inflated prices that we got with all this cheap money. Because people could charge more, people could afford the payments with interest rates at 3. Now that created a big bubble. Now we got to let the air out of that bubble. They're doing it with these rates. So we know what's going to happen, guys. We know. So do what we need to do. Let's save our money, take care of ourselves, be prepared for some tough times, man. So be judicious in the way you spend your money, and know that when this is over, and this will end, man, when this is over, better times are coming, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to look like a bargain compared to the way it was priced when the crazy boom was on. Anyway, guys, that's what we got for today. We really appreciate your support. As always, if you like what you're hearing, hit like. Ask your questions in the comment section. Share the video with your friends and subscribers. If you need me for anything stronger, personal, ask Chuck Barone at gmail.com. Big day tomorrow. We're going to hopefully get a look at that Fed report. We'll be talking about it with you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, until we talk again, take care. Thanks.